Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Monday morning, start of another week. Hopefully, this week will kind of go quickly for everyone. So, welcome to West Ham Reunited. My name's Jazz, and we're going to be looking at the West Ham Brentford game from yesterday. Before we get started with our guests, I just want to sort of speak about Glazewise Limited, our sponsor for the channel. So, based in Essex. So, any windows, doors, or conservatory needs, you can contact them. And if you mention our channel, you get a discount. So our first great sort of guest is Matt. Matt, your second time with us, so welcome back.
Thanks, mate. Yeah. Second time in short time, and really happy to be back, mate. Thanks a lot.
Brilliant. And I must mention to viewers, Matt's joining us from Mexico, so very early morning for him. So really grateful for that, Matt, and looking forward to discussing the game. And thanks, we have another esteemed guest. We have Rob Banks, the renowned West Ham author. No doubt many books he's written. Is one of those. Irrational Hatred of Luton from about 93, was it, Robert?
95.
95. And then there's an updated version as well, covering 2003, I think, upwards. So all available from good bookshops, like we used to say, isn't it? So get your hand on them.
And some rubbish ones as well. Some rubbish ones stock it as well.
Right. Anyway, welcome to you both. And also just a quick mention about the Iron Sporting food banks, really. So we're kind of sporting them as much as we can. They're usually around the ground about 3 hours before each game. You can find them probably just outside the turnstiles as you're walking in on the left-hand side. So John's usually there with a lot of other helpers. So as we know, Newham is one of the, if not the poorest London borough there is out there. They're doing a lot of good work. So please go and give them a visit. You can donate cash or take some food or any other way you can help them, really. So a lot of good work those guys are doing. Anyway, gentlemen, let's get cracking with the game. So first thing I wanted to look at was really the lineup. So if we look at the lineup, starting with West Ham United, 4-2-3-1. So no surprises there. The only talking points last week when we were previewing the game, Matt, was the goalkeeper position, and he stuck with Fabianski. What's your feelings on Fabianski? Would you have stuck with him before the game, or any other changes, do you think?
It's a real tough one. I mean, the only thing I don't really, we don't really have the input in is the effect in the dressing room. You know, I mean, what kind of character is Fabianski in the dressing room? So I think that maybe the justification behind Fabianski starting is maybe that, you know, he doesn't want to upset this great culture, this great harmony that we've been talking about. But I think now, I mean, you can't blame Fabianski. It's easy to put him as a scapegoat, but I think it is time now that Areola might need to start pushing through, you know, just to give us, I mean, Fabianski had a bit of a tough time, but I mean, like you say, apart from that, I think that was the team that we all expected, no?
Yeah, I think Fabianski, for me, as you know, I would have preferred Areola. Apart from that, I had a feeling Zoom and Ogbonna would come in together. The only other feeling we discussed in our preview with one of the other guests on Saturday was, I think, the request for Dawson perhaps in being able to mark the bigger guys that we had against Brentford up front. And that was the only other thing. Apart from that, I think Van Rama, Fornells, Bowen, I think they sort of picked themselves, and Tony up front. And Robert, the only thing that I was thinking of is I felt that the team that played against Rapid Vienna was a bit too strong. I didn't think there was a need for Souček to come on for half an hour, or Rice to play all of the game, or Antonio. And that would have affected this team, wouldn't it, I think? Yeah.
I think we were victims of not taking our chances in the first half against Vienna, because if we'd been 3 or 4-0 up at half time, as we should have been, you could have withdrawn a number of players at half time rather than waiting for the hour mark. As it was, only being 1-0 up and then nearly conceding a penalty, it was a lot tighter than it should have been. But that's West Ham at the moment. I think we're not taking our chances. We're not as clinical as we should be, and but we're as clinical as we can be with the staff we've got available, I think.
You're right. I think it's just unfortunate. I was mentioning we haven't seen anyone from the under-23s or one of the youth stepping up to be on the bench, or certainly see what's down there. I know Connor Coventry's on loan and people like that. So I was a bit surprised. I mean, when the season started, I was expecting, especially in the League Cup, to at least see one of the kids coming through. So, Rob, I don't know if you know or you've been impressed with any of the kids in the background. You hear names like Baptiste. I don't know if there's any more down there that you think will deserve a place on the bench, perhaps.
Yeah, it's so difficult, isn't it? Because to push them up into that level is it is a different world, and I think a lot of people talk about Connor Coventry, but whenever I've seen him, I've not been that impressed, to be honest. I'm no expert, obviously, and I never played football at a professional level, so I wouldn't dare to criticise. But Baptiste as well. I saw him play against. I think he played against Doncaster in the cup last year, and the guy who scored in that game, is it O'Fallon? He's got 6 in 12 for Bolton. Since he left, so maybe he should have been given a bit more of a chance. I thought he looked a good strong forward, attacking midfield striker in almost in the Antonio mould. I thought he looked really strong, and I'm disappointed he wasn't given more of a chance. That's all gone. It's all under the bridge now. But in terms of the current crop, there's Oko Flex, who's been chomping at the bit. I'm surprised he hasn't made the bench at least a couple of times, given the lack of depth in the striking department. But you've got to kind of trust Moyes in that respect. He seems to get it right more often than not, and if he thinks they're not ready yet, then they're probably not ready yet.
Matt, any other players you might have changed, especially around the defensive pairings? Because we do, especially on centre backs, we do have a choice of 3-4 now, don't we? This season?
I mean, it's a tough one because with Tony, what you know what you're going to get, and I don't think. I think that before the game. I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I think that most of us were expecting Zuma and Ogbonna to handle him a little bit better than they did, So, I mean, I wouldn't have changed it from the start, but with hindsight, maybe I would have, brought in someone a little bit more mobile. I think Ogbonna got shown up a little bit there for his lack of mobility. And I think the other thing that was a big doubt was Soufal and his match fitness. And, I mean, I'm not one to criticise him. I like him a lot, but I definitely think that it was the wrong decision to start him. Not because, I mean, he got involved, obviously with the goal and everything, and that's not taken away. But still, I think that it was obvious that he wasn't up to match fitness. And I think Ben Johnson, coming off the back of a great performance in the Europa League, if they'd have known that Soufal wasn't up to speed, I think maybe they could have given Johnson the nod. But yet again, it's hindsight, and I think most of us, apart from the goalkeeper, that's the biggest question mark. I think most of us were expecting a victory, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and then obviously, we set up the way we have most of going back last 18, 24 months. They played in a 3-5-2 system. And really, Rob, as soon as the game started, I think, they literally hit the crossbar after 3 minutes. Mabuma. And I had a quick look at Brentford last season, and Tony's been ripping out last 4 years, and Mabuma's more of a supporting striker, doesn't get as many goals. I think he got 8 last year. Obviously, he started off well in this game. 4 minutes, I think Mabuma, again, narrowly wide of the left post. 11 minutes, Fabianski saved Tony's shot, really. So you could tell before we're going to go up to their first goal in a minute, but looks like, Rob, the first 15, 20 minutes, it was more or less all Brentford, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised that Brentford came out of the traps. I've watched them a few times this season, and obviously they rely on a high tempo, out of the traps, in your face kind of approach, which whether they'll be able to maintain that for the whole season remains to be seen. The thing that surprised me was that we were surprised by it, if you see what I mean. I thought that Moyes would have them, ready for that, and it just seemed that they were looking at each other and saying, well, who are these guys? Where did they come from? And I was kind of expecting that, and I thought that we might be a little bit more prepared for it. But you've got to hand it to Brentford. They were outstanding throughout the whole match, I thought. Apart from that little period in the second half where we had the upper hand, throughout the whole game, they were up it and at it, and they were also using every trick in the book, of course. But you know, well played. That first 15 minutes, they were absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, and then Matt, the goal for Mbeumo, he was kind of in the right place at the right time. Good save from Fabianski, but I don't want to be controversial again. But when you look at the saves he's making, they're directly at him.
Yep.
When you look at them, but he is spilling them, and they are going out. And when the ball is spilled out, or later on we'll go and look at their goal, when it's a deflection, it comes out. You can't blame the defenders because you don't know which direction the ball's going to go in. And when it went in, perhaps when you look at the Sky cameras, it's literally millimetre, I think, that it's been given a goal, you know. But I just kept thinking, if it was Areola, more agile, more younger, would he have pushed it out? We'll never know. But did you feel perhaps Fabianski could have done a lot more, or anything leading up to the goal? I mean,
I agree. I agree with Rob in that case that we just look clueless. We look like we weren't expecting. Yeah. I mean, it's obvious how Brentford play. I've been watching them since the championships. I like them.
Right.
Rico Henry, a guy that we were looking to sign.
Oh wow!
But in the first 20 minutes, I mean, he ripped us to pieces. I mean, and we judged him to be too short, I think, was the official reason we didn't sign him, and we could have picked him up for 5 million. I mean, especially with the left back problem that we've been talking about, you know, with Creswell getting on a bit and Masuaku not fitting in a left back role. I mean, Rico Henry has been shown to be equally agile as a left wing back and a left full back. I mean, but like you say, Fabianski, yeah, he's just pushing too many balls out. You know, I mean, you can't drop him there. I mean, it's easy for us to judge, you know, but I mean, really, it's just getting into that situation. And like you said with Tony, I mean, with Tony there, what happened? That through ball that he put in, I think if that had been someone else, I think they would be waxing lyrical about it, because that ball that he put through, first touch, first time, weighted perfectly, just ripped us to pieces, ripped us open. And I mean, we weren't close enough to him. I mean, it was only later on in the game that Zuma really started to get a hand on him. But I mean, those first 20 minutes, like Rob says, we just looked like we didn't know how they were going to play. And maybe that's where, if you're looking at a three at the back, well, we can talk about this a little bit later. But I think, I think Antonio let us down there with his movement. I think that's one thing but that's looking at it later, you know. I think
looking at it later,
I think just more than anything, one thing that I will say is that the second balls, we just didn't pick them up, and that's like, for example, they're on the goal, you know. I mean, especially as a fast-paced team, you know, they're known for their high press. They're a very vertical team. They don't play much horizontally, you know. They're very direct, very vertical, and they transition so quickly, you know. So I mean, we just on the second ball, we just lost it. And I think that was a trend that went on starting in the first 15, 20 minutes and continued, like Rob said, for most of the game.
Yeah, just before we carry on, no, I'm not drinking any rum. It's too early, Scott. I had far too many yesterday and the Thursday game. So I'm just relaxing at the moment. I went out to get some petrol early on. Lucky I got some, so I've got half a tank. But anyway, going back to you, Matt. Henry.
Thought you were drinking that.
Yeah. I mean, Henry, he's rapid, mate, Matt. Whoa, he's so fast and
skillful.
Yeah, brilliant. And Rob, your feelings when they scored? I felt it's a matter of time before they're going to score the way the game was looking. Yeah. Anything perhaps Fabianski could have done, or perhaps one of the other defenders leading up to that shot and sort of deflection and rebound going in?
Yeah, it's all a bit of a blur, and I haven't had the chance to watch it again since. But it was on the cards, and you know, it was if that one hadn't gone in, then they would probably have scored.
It looked like it was
a few minutes later.
Yeah, I think, Robert, it looked like a through ball, and it went, and Ogman or Zuma weren't really in a position to kind of stop it.
Yeah,
and I think their striker a lot more pace.
I remember that, you know, the initial shot, and Fabianski sort of spilled it out, and then was just a shade too late to get to the second shot. And he was sort of clawed it out, but it had already gone over the line.
Yeah, and
maybe you know, I think the criticism of Fabianski is because he's the last line of defence, but really we should have been on that much sooner, much earlier in the move. And like I say, they just took us by surprise. And what can you do? What can you do as a manager to say to your team, look, they're going to be coming at us. We've got to be ready for it. We've got to close off the channels because they're going to be firing stuff at us. You can say what you like, but the minute they go out there and it's raining down on you, how do you deal with it?
Yeah,
we've got players that are capable of dealing with that, and I was again, I was surprised that we were surprised. I just thought that we could have prepared better for what was coming.
Yeah, and the argument before the game was like, Jazz, we shouldn't change our formation to please them. Understand that, but then another argument I was saying that, yep, I really like David Moyes, but if it looks like the first 15, 20 minutes, I know it's still early, it looks like it's not working, he's not going to change it. And we'll discuss later, there was no changes at all. He's really got to look at himself, he's done the hard work by creating this team and everything that's good about it. And he needs to do a little bit more to keep it going. Otherwise, we don't want to lose the momentum we've had the last 18, 24 months, really. So that's my feelings, Matt, that if it ain't working, I'm a novice. I'm nowhere near being a manager, but sitting in the stands, I would try to do something. Obviously, you've got to think about it. You don't want to harm the confidence of the player that you might take off at halftime, as an example. But it has been done by some really good managers, and it works. He didn't. But second half, Matt, it was different. But why do you think we have this first half, second half syndrome in a lot of the games this season? It's really annoying. And you can't say they're tired, because if they're tired, how come they run more in the second half than the first half? It's really odd, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, I don't know either, mate. I mean, it's one of those things that even we've had this from last year, to be honest. I mean, even from last year, this is a hangover situation from first half, second half syndrome. The only thing I can think is that Moyes is able to because I think Moyes obviously knows the game so well. He's able to transmit the information that he needs more clearly through half time than during the game. For example, let's give the perfect example. Whenever you're playing as a lone striker against three centre backs, it's tough. It's really tough. So you could see in the second half, what did Antonio do? He was dragging wide a lot more in the old Thierry Henry style. Moving wide and dragging a centre back with him. And that allowed our attacking midfielders to get into more space, and it allowed us to hold on the ball and become a little bit more effective in our attacks. But that was, like you said, these were the things that we only were seeing in the second half. So I do think that could be, mate, that Moyes maybe can't get his message across during the game, or during the first half, and is waiting for that time, or maybe he doesn't want to, maybe he's quite comfortable. With letting the team, he seems to trust in the team, and at the end of the day, we know it, as much as it's frustrating, we're not going to play brilliantly every half of every game. We're still a team in development. We're still a team that's growing. We're still a team that's missing a few key pieces. And, we're going to have these naff halves and these naff moments, but unfortunately, apart from 15, 20 minutes, we were the second best team for most of the game.
Yeah. And Rob, in the second half, first 15 minutes, when you're on top, you need to score, and it wasn't going in, was it, Rob? It just wasn't going in, was it?
Just going back briefly to the subject of making tweaks and changes, you've got to also remember that this team is resilient, and it has, I think, now 6 points this season already from losing positions. And although I think we've lost nearly as many from winning positions, but we do going a goal down doesn't bother me these days like it used to. If you remember, it's not that long ago that if the opposition scored first, we were just screwed. But this team has got more about it. So I think as a manager, he's got to have the confidence in the players to say, well, it's up to you guys. You've done it before. Let's do it again. In the second half, same as first half against Vienna on Thursday. although you could say in the first half against Vienna we were more unlucky, this was more, just profligate. I think the word is, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you don't take your chances, then usually you're going to get punished. And I suppose against a team like Brentford, you might think you might get away with it, but this Brentford side's made of sterner stuff. I must admit, I did feel that once Bowen had scored, we might go on and win the game.
Definitely.
But
we didn't think.
Clearly.
I didn't think that goal was going to come, but it came after 80 minutes, and great finish. Not with his natural foot, and I think he was about to go off. I think David Moyes had Vlasic lined up, ready to come on. I could be wrong. I don't know who was going to come on, and the goal happened. So it's kind of funny how things happen, isn't it, Rob? I mean, in terms of substitutions. Do you think Bowen was about to go off, or perhaps Fornells, do you think, before the goal?
Yeah, I must admit, I think it got to just about around the time of the goal, and I thought, well, he hasn't made any changes yet. I didn't see anyone on the touchline sort of stripped and ready to come on, or looking like they were ready to come on. But you kind of feel, even at least to give someone a bit of a break, even if it's not tactical, just do a like for like. Having said that, I can't imagine in my wildest dreams that Vlasic was going to make an impact, or that anyone else on the bench was going to have some sort of dramatic impact. So, as long as everyone's still got energy, I guess, especially as they just scored a goal, keep them on and let them finish the job.
Yeah, Vlasic. It doesn't look like he's better than what we've got, but certainly we'll give him time to settle down and see what he does. A lot of money we've invested in him.
I'll give him time, but he certainly doesn't look a £35 million player at the moment.
No, he doesn't really. And obviously throughout that game, I was looking at Tony's movement, the amount of what he was doing. And I was jealous. I was jealous that they had Tony in their team. I thought the guy... And just going back to him, Matt, I mean, 2 years at Peterborough, ripping it up. Barry Fry is very, very good friends with Sullivan. How the hell did we not just look at him before? I'm shocking, isn't it? I mean, 1 and 2 he gets, or even better with Peterborough.
We would have picked him up a hell of a lot cheaper than if we want to pick him up at the end of the season. I mean, it was one of those ones that I think a lot of us wanted Brentford to do badly this year, but I mean, like I said, I watched them a lot in the Championship, and it was obvious with Thomas Frank that they weren't going to do badly. I mean, we saw it with Sheffield United that they came up and did well, Leeds that came up and did well, and I mean, they're all the same kind of mould of team. That real aggressive, high press, dynamic, direct football teams that seem to get results and they're uncomfortable to play against. But I mean, unfortunately, if we're going to look at Tony, like when we were talking with James after the Vienna game, we're probably going to be looking at 40-50 million, where we could have picked him up for 5-10, in that moment. I think he went to Brentford for 5 add-ons up to 10 million. I mean, it's going to be a huge investment. But the difference is, at least if you're going to lay out the money for someone like Tony, he's at least proven in the English leagues. When we spent big money going back to Simone Zaza, going back to Haller, etc., that were unproven yet decent internationals. At least a guy like Tony, you've got that confidence that in the right setup, and like we all know, he's so similar to Antonio. In size, strength, playing style. Probably even, I would like to say, even a little bit better than Antonio in terms of he's probably got a little bit more skill and technique than Antonio, and he's younger. So, I mean, it will be a wonderful, wonderful investment, because talking about, the substitutions, we just didn't have, we've talked about it since last year, we lack a plan B. That's one thing we lack. If our plan doesn't work, yes, we're resilient, and yes, we can come back, and yes, we can keep hammering at the door, but there's just not this plan B. And for example, let's look at this situation with Rice pushing up more these days. Well, he's leaving Souček a little bit further back, and before it was Souček pushing up more, coming in as the second wave for the cutbacks or the things like that. And Souček, unfortunately, is not doing it right now because of the tiredness or what the fatigue he's got. So talking about substitutions, I probably would have shut off Soufal, brought on Johnson, and stuck Crow in instead of Souček and let Rice push up. See what happens. Roll the dice.
Yeah, I think when it was 1-1, I was over the moon. I would have been so happy with the 1-1 against a team like Brentford. I would have said we got away with it.
Yeah,
let's put a point on the board. International break, come back hopefully, and hopefully move towards a win when we get back. Rob, any comments on the annoying referee and the Brentford time-wasting tactics, altercation, David Moyes on the touchline, the sub punching the ball away, all of those things? I don't know if you noticed any of them during the game.
Well, I noticed the crap referee. I thought he was he appeared to be biased towards Brentford. Obviously, as I am biased, you always feel that the referee's biased against you. And if you'd been watching it as a neutral, maybe you'd have had a different view. But there was a rash of about three free kicks in the first half where I would have sworn blind that we'd got a toe on the ball, but he gave the free kick. There was one where Tony was clean through, wasn't there? And I think Zuma tackled him on the edge of the box. Looked to me like the ball moved to indicate that he just got a toe on the ball before he made contact. I thought it was a clean tackle. I don't know if you saw it better on TV, Matt, with the replays or whatever, but they didn't show it on any of the highlights reels. It seemed to me that the linesmen weren't contributing at all in any way. They were literally just flagging for offside and throw-ins, but even then they were following what the referee was saying. It was one of those ones where I think the referee had a bit of a nightmare, but I don't think it affected the outcome of the game. In terms of the antics, I think they were time wasting from the 11th minute, weren't they? It was. This is what I was saying. I was saying to someone yesterday. Brentford a great team, but don't believe all the hype because they're wily as well. It's not all down to skill, and they were doing things that I wish we would do a little bit more from time to time. I think one of the reasons I became a West Ham fan, or I was a West Ham fan when I was much younger, is because I always felt we always played the game in the spirit, according to the spirit of the rules, as well as the letter. And although we had hard players from time to time, they were always pretty fair. And other teams like the Leeds of the 70s and Chelsea's and whatever with their thugs that played for them just literally went out to batter the opposition every week. I say I'd like to see us do stuff like that a bit more. I think we could be a little more streetwise still these days. I think we've learnt a lot, but sometimes I wish we'd sort of take our time over throw-ins and so I think we are getting better at it, but
I think
they were obvious and cynical with it, and I think they were quite prepared, quite happy to take bookings for it as well.
I think Matt probably knows a bit more than me. I didn't know Brentford were like that. I thought they're a nice team. Welcome to the Premier League. Hope you do well. My season ticket holder, Brentford friend, sort of came with me to the game, and he did mention sort of they've got good defence. They're quite solid at the back, and they defend together as a team and attack together as well, like we saw. Referee, I thought he lost the grip of the game in stages. First half, he wasn't giving us anything. Then to make up for it, because interesting thing Solskjaer said was when there's 61,000, because we are getting a good atmosphere. It was very good yesterday. It does put pressure on the referee and the linesman. So then he started to give a lot of things our way. Some of them were not probably ours. And going back to Rob's point, if you remember before Lingard joined us, Rob, we weren't getting any penalties, if you remember. We had the worst tally of penalties, I think, a couple of seasons ago. Yeah. Then he came along with his Manchester United class and won us at least 2 penalties from top of my head. And there are times, Rob, I did notice where some of us, especially Antonio, was being pushed and he kept staying on his feet. And then the referee didn't give anything. And I'm like, just go down. And I know I get into trouble sometimes by saying that. I'm just saying, try to be more cunning. And if that's the the modern game to get a free kick, then you should go down a bit more. But we are one of the teams that I've noticed we don't get many yellow cards, which overall is a good thing. You don't want a
But yeah,
disciplinary issue. But
having said that, I wouldn't want us to end up with,
Yeah.
the likes of Salah or Jack Grealish, who, you only have to go near them and they go down clutching their face. That to me is, if you've been touched, if contact has been made, then by all means go down. But they take it to a different level, those guys.
I do think that we need to be smarter with our tactical fouls, though. Like I say, I agree with Rob. I wouldn't like to see us diving, but I think if you look at the top teams, the Liverpools, the Man Cities, etc., they're very clinical and cynical when it comes to hacking people down when it's necessary to break up a very dangerous attack. And I think that we're naive with that. I mean, there was one that Zuma did yesterday, which was surprising because it's not something that we normally do. But if you look at Man City, they will have no questions about taking a yellow card from Rodri, from people like that, in the defensive midfield, just taking out that counter attack. And I mean, well, you can look for their goal, to be honest. I mean, it just, as soon as that free kick got put down, I mean, that was the opposite with such an unnecessary foul. Was so unnecessary. And I think that's something that's hurt us. And to be honest, I was expecting at least a goal or close to a goal in that situation, because it just had West Ham all over it, just coming back. And I don't like to be pessimist because I'm not that way. But I mean, like you say, we just got to get that little bit streetwise. And Brentford have been like that. And it's not only, people get it confused, it's not only time wasting to use up time, it's time wasting to break the rhythm of the opposition.
Slow down the tempo,
Exactly, because, you saw that they saw that West Ham, we were getting, especially with that close header of Antonio and Souček, that either of them could have taken that, we were getting on top of them again, So, I mean, what do? It's not just to waste time, it's to take it out and say, you know what, West Ham, we're gonna take away your momentum. We're going to slow it down. And they did it wonderfully. And I mean, Thomas Frank is like that. If you looked at them against Liverpool, when they got the result against Liverpool, I mean, I think you can call it shithousing, to be honest. I mean, it's something that they're very good at,
I mean, there was one of their players went down in the first half, and I was berating him for putting it on, but I think he had to go off, didn't he? So I'll give him that one. But they, in the second half, they were doing it all the time. Every time someone went down, they'd be down, clutching their knee and whatever. A trainer needs to come on, whatever, and then they're right as ninepence as soon as the magic sponges come out. And like you say, it's taken all the momentum out of the game, and we're having to start from square one again.
Exactly.
And Rob, before the goal, would you have perhaps settled for the draw and brought on Dawson as an example, or Alex Crowell to lock it in at the back, make sure we don't?
Not these days. No, I really thought that we were going to go on and win. So unless I would have gone for a more attacking option.
Okay.
Because at that point in the game, they hadn't really shown very much, and I thought at the very least we'd get the 1-1. Shows how after all these years of watching West Ham, still haven't learned.
Yeah. We always get this gut feeling just to be aware of what could happen. And Matt, the free kick leading up to the goal. Some people are saying it looked really soft. Do you remember anything about the edge of the area?
Yeah. The thing is, I think it was just a general trend that we saw throughout the whole game. It was very unusual that Ogbonna and Zuma both were getting caught flat-footed a lot. If you look at the balls that went in behind them, there were quite a few moments where they were caught with a flat profile instead of being profiled to cover back well, and you're going against the two strikers and the guys that come breaking out from the centre midfield, and you get caught flat-footed, and I think Ogbonna, unfortunately, it's natural. I mean, for his age, he's not as nimble as he used to be, and I think he got caught out. And it's the Premier League these days, it's that split second that you arrive late, and it just happens, But I think if we'd have been, I think it comes back to this situation of the central midfield. I wasn't happy. I think it's not often that you can say that Rice and Souček were played around for a lot of the game yesterday. I mean, they last year they were an absolutely fantastic midfield combination. But I think with the combination now of Rice wanting to push up more, which is understandable, and Souček being overtired or leggy or not up to Souček of last year, I think that's where we're getting found out a little bit more. You know, so I mean, that's why maybe, I mean, I would love to say that it might change after the international break, but what happens with Souček and Soufal, for example? They're internationals that play 90 minutes. They travel a long way. They train. They're guaranteed starters. I mean, you know, they don't get subbed off for the Czech Republic, and they're going to come back exactly the same.
Yeah,
so I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
it's worrying, mate. It is worrying because I think if we lose that central midfield block that has been so essential to us over the last season and a half, you know, since Souček arrived and made that decision, it's going to leave our defence more vulnerable. And to be honest, I think we'll be looking at the end of the season. And remember me now, I think we'll end up with a Zuma-Diop partnership in the end. I think that will end up coming through. Because of that mobility at the back, and I think that Diop has started to improve a lot. Dawson, I mean, maybe we should have done Dawson. Maybe Dawson against Tony would have at least lumped him a few times. That he would have thought twice about it, you know, because I think we were naive there as well. I think I'm not agreeing that we should be fouling people, but I think if someone had put in a few meatier challenges in against Tony, like that. They showed, you know, the replay of that challenge at Vienna that Dawson put in. Did you see that one? That he went sliding in and absolutely lumped the guy. Clean, won the ball.
Dawson's very good like that.
I think maybe they would have given Tony a little bit more to think about, because it's the same when Antonio goes up against a weak centre back, and Antonio knows that he's got him in his pocket from the get-go.
Yeah, and robbed the goal again. A header from across, and what centre backs couldn't quite clear it. Again, he went in the centre of the goal, and Fabianski saved it. Came out again.
Yeah,
great finish. What's your feelings around? Was it a soft free kick, you think, or anything else could have been prevented for the goal?
Yeah, I mean, obviously all goals are preventable, but if you go back far enough, but once the ball's pinging around in the area like that, then it's you know, it's 50-50 what's going to happen, isn't it? And it landed on tails when it could have landed on heads, and it fell to a Brentford player who was in far too much space. But like I say, when it's pinging around like that, you can't close down all the spaces.
No.
And you know, we had several opportunities similar to that at our end, and we didn't take them. So, you know, after the game, I wasn't too disappointed, because I felt that we couldn't fault the effort throughout 90 minutes. And I always say, if you feel that the team's given everything over 90 minutes and we've still lost to the better team, then fair enough. Okay, yeah, we could have been more clinical, but you can say that in most games if you don't take your chances. We gave everything. It was like after the Man United game, I wasn't disappointed after that. Even after what happened in the last minute, we gave everything. I felt that we, you know, given that we'd had a game on the Thursday, we gave everything. The crowd gave everything. Couldn't ask for more. And it was just unlucky. I think that last goal was unlucky because Brentford hadn't really shown anything for the last half an hour of the game.
No, I think we, just about perhaps deserved a draw. I think we gave it all in the second half. Going back to Tony, I just remembered something from my Brentford season ticket holder friend. He mentioned after the Liverpool game that Klopp was speaking to Tony for 10 minutes after the game. So I don't know what was going on there. We know Klopp admires Bowen as well from within our squad. So let's see what happens in the up and coming transfer window, because I think Liverpool again have began work on another stand to match our capacity, I think. So it looks like nearly every team, Matt and Rob, are going to have 60,000 capacity, aren't they? Sooner or later, the way things are looking. What another thing that came to my mind, Matt, was that Lingard, you can tell in that game, he was 5% more than Bowen, Banram, and Fornals, in my opinion, and perhaps that would have made a difference. Just when you can't break them down or the game's looking messy, he used to just grab the ball, get into space, and finish or set up a great chance, wasn't it, Lingard?
I think we're missing Lingard's goals. I mean, that's definite. I mean, the quality, like we've talked about, people wax lyrical about Fornals and Bowen, and they're great. But when it comes to their shooting, they're very inconsistent. They don't have that quality yet that Lingard has. And I mean, you could see that Lingard's goal against us, I mean, look at that quality. Zuma was brilliant the whole game, gave him half a yard of space, and what did he do?
Whoa, what
Put it into the top corner. And that's what we just don't have right now, or at least with the consistency, So I think we are missing those goals that came from Lingard in that moment. And I think it's just going to take us a little while to find our feet again. And, like Rob says, I mean, we've got these great European results, but if that's the second time in a row we've lost after the European game. I mean, it's okay, but like we've talked about as well, if we're not doing well in the league, it's going to affect us in Europe as well, because if you're doing well in the league and you're established in the league, it gives you a little bit more flexibility in the cup. I mean, in the European Cup. Gives a little bit more confidence. But if we're struggling in the league and we're putting out the same team or 90-80% of the same team, we're going to end up knackering ourselves, And I mean, it's a long season. It's not only the Europa League, it's 2 cup competitions, and we really don't have a big squad. I mean, we've got a wonderful core, but we really don't have a big squad, especially for the level of success that we're aiming for, I mean, top 6, top 7, so I mean, we've really got to be careful with this. And that's why I do think that, okay, we've got 6 out of 6 in Europe. The next game is Genk. We've got Tottenham, I think, after Genk. No, because it's Everton, I think, and then it's Genk.
Everton away,
and then it's Genk, and then it's Tottenham. Now, I think,
Tottenham at home on the 24th.
Christ, and I mean, I don't.
And then Man City in the cup.
Don't mind losing to Brentford after Europe, but if we lose to Spurs after Europe again, I mean, that will be. I mean, so Genk, let's stick out a real team. I mean, I would even say to the guys, don't even take them along for the ride. Just take a couple of guys on, just leave them at home. Let them rest.
No, they're at home to Genk, aren't they? We're at home to Genk.
Don't even invite them to the stadium. Leave them at home. Leave them to rest. I mean, especially guys like Souček that you can really see it. Just leave them at home. Give them a break, and let's really establish. Because being honest, we all want to do well in Europe. But if we're ending up in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th in the Premier League, I mean, it's going to become complicated, especially as the season gets on. It's that balance. And I think Moyes does a wonderful job, but like you said, Jazz, where were the subs?
I mean, if you ever look at the programme, everyone, look at the gap between Brentford and West Ham squad.
It tells you a lot, doesn't it?
I had a look at that and I thought, wow, they've got an extra 6 I can see from ours. Rob, going back to Lingard, are we missing the cream on the cake like Lingard, do you think? Someone like him would have been difference in a lot of the games this season, or will he come in January? I don't know.
I don't think you can argue that if we'd had Lingard in the squad, even on the bench, if he'd come on second half, we would have unlocked that defence without, we would have been 2-1 up at least by the time they scored their goal, and possibly if we'd got that second goal, that would have been enough. We're missing him. Of course, we're missing him. But he was only a lone player. There was never any indication that he was going to sign permanently, and the boy, obviously his heart's in Manchester, and you can't blame him for wanting to stay. So we'd love him back, but he seems like a great kid as well. I say kid, he's what, 26, 27 now. But yeah, a player of his caliber is obviously gonna lift things several degrees when he's on form, and we are missing him.
One thing I wanted to mention, and we can discuss, is I could be wrong. I'm just my opinion. I felt yesterday that Rice was doing too much. I thought. I mean, he's there as a holding defense, but he was trying to do things that I felt Ben Rama should have done as our number 10. He should have demanded the ball like a Modric and just gone at them and make things happen. I felt he wasn't quite visible. sometimes due to his physique, he does get knocked off the ball. Sometimes, again, I could be completely wrong in what I'm saying and watching, but I just feel that there was too much responsibility in Rice to do so many things, I thought. And Ben Rama, for me, wasn't visible enough to make things happen. I don't. Rob and Matt, either of you could answer that question. How you felt the game Ben Rama? Did you feel?
Agree. I think. Oh, sorry, not Rob. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think that Rice has got taste for goals. I think that's dangerous. That's dangerous for us. You know, it's great for him, but dangerous for us because he's been so essential just playing that role. You know, even for England, you know, he said to Calvin Phillips, "You got push up, and I'll stay back and protect the back four." But I think now for us, I mean, now he's trying to add that little bit more depth to his game, which is fantastic, and it's okay as long as we sort ourselves out and accommodate ourselves. According to that situation. That's where maybe putting Crow in alongside him and seeing, give him that movement, because it was always Rice sits back and Souček was the guy that would, our Patrick Vieira, for example, the guy that was always coming in for cutbacks and always, arriving to the box, more box-to-box midfielder. So maybe it's a chance now, if we want to give Souček a rest, stick Crow there and tell him, okay, right, you're going to do that defensive job, and we give Dec the chance to get up. Because, ahead of it, you wouldn't put Declan Rice in one of the front three. But then again, I think we messed up with the starting formation of the front three. Because, you could see that Fornals was on the wing to start, and Ben Rama in the middle. And I think that was a little bit of a mistake from us, that didn't give us that cover. And Fornals never looks that comfortable on the wing. And then you could see after a little while that they moved Ben Rama a little bit more wide on the left side, and Fornals started to become a little bit more central. But if that is going to happen with Rice and he's going to start moving or changing his roles and his responsibilities in the team, then we do need to make other adjustments, because having two defensive midfielders that are box to box won't work,
I thought Rice looked frustrated yesterday. I thought for the first time this season, he had some wayward passes, some tackles that didn't come off, miscontrolled a few times, and I think he was getting annoyed with himself. And as that happened, he got gradually worse as the game went on. And maybe that's a byproduct of him trying to push forward and do too much, as Matt says. He is trying to be everything to everyone, and he should just concentrate on, breaking up the play as he does so well. And if he's needed on the edge of the box or even in the box on set pieces, then all well and good. But don't try and break any records. Just do exactly what you were doing.
Exactly.
Do exactly what you have been doing. It's not, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Definitely.
I think, Rob, what I find this season is that when we play well, all 11 play well, and when we play badly, 10 play average. Rice is always, for me, 7.5, 8 out of 10. I find that in a game like yesterday, where nearly everyone was slightly below par, there's not anyone apart from Rice to step up, and we would have said, wow, didn't Ben Rama just shine, pick up, change things? For me, I don't know if that's the bench. I don't know if you feel it's why is it always Rice? Why can't it be that 1, 2 others that can push us through and get us a result, because the other 8 weren't quite at it? I don't know how you feel. Like, it's either everyone's good or everyone's bad most of the time. I don't know.
Right. I think that yesterday, we just had the lack of consistency from everyone. Fornals wasn't his best game. I was really upset with Fornals. Especially with the goal. To be honest, really, the second goal.
What did you think about Ben Rama, Matt? What do you think? Do you think he should have done more, especially playing against his? Yeah.
I thought the pressure of playing Brentford was too much. His shooting was off. You could see that he was looking to get that goal, against his ex-club. And I think that he just didn't get it. I think he was trying too hard. I think he should have come off. I think maybe around the 75 minutes, I think we should have freshened it up with Ben Rama. I think that could have been an option. I think Fornals, like you say, Rice in the covering back. Bowen, he has the advantage that Bowen, Ben Rama and Fornals are wonderful covering back too. They've got wonderful motors on them to get back and cover. But Fornals yesterday, I wasn't impressed with. I mean, for the last goal, the Wissa was alone, completely alone. Even whatever you say about Fabianski, the guy was alone. The closest player to him was Fornals, who was just ball watching, you know? So, I mean, I think that we need to take more responsibility, each player, and what did Fornals? Sorry, just looking at the comment. What did Fornals? I think, you know what? I think Antonio in the second half did influence the game. I think he did. I think when he started to make more horizontal movements, moving wide, dragging Janssen, because the thing about their centre-backs, like we were talking about their fouls, their centre-backs are not agile. And they were hacking. I mean, that guy Janker, or his name is Jorgensen, I think, he should have been off, I think. I think he had definitely 2 yellows in him. And I think the fact that the ref didn't give him a yellow to start the game really gave him a lot more liberty to start lumping around players. But I think in Antonio in the second half is when he started dragging wide. I think that's really when we opened up a lot more space. And for example, that's when the goal came and the opportunities came. But yeah, Fornals was not impressive yesterday. And I mean, Antonio was Antonio. I mean, God, how he missed that one of the ball that came in, that wonderful whipped in cross, short, cross, and him. And I can't blame Souček there because you expect the first man to take it, I mean,
I think a couple of times he took 1 or 2 too many touches, didn't he, Antonio? I think when he was clean put through. And a lot of it is his own hard work. I remember he knocked 2-3 of them out of the way, got into a really good position, and then couldn't really put a shot away, isn't it? I remember once at least like that. The other thing was obviously just a bench like Vlasic. Not sure if he would have changed anything. He certainly did look good in the Southampton game, I was told, when he came on. Subs again, Rob, what do you think? Any subs we should have done because there were none made in the whole game?
Yeah, like I think I said before, I didn't see anything on the bench that would have changed anything, and I don't see that having just scored, let those that have created that carry on and do it, go on and finish it. I don't see Vlasic as you've got to give him a chance, I guess, but against that Brentford team, I could just see him getting knocked off the ball all the time and not having any influence whatsoever. Might have been interesting to see what Masuaku could have contributed.
Exactly. Definitely.
Yeah, in a midfield role.
Definitely.
But the momentum was with us at that point, and to tinker with it. If he'd made the substitution and we'd lost, he would have been criticised for making a substitution. Why did you make a change? We were doing all right, So that was the only thing I had in mind was maybe Masuaku. But
I agree with you, Rob. Definitely, I think Masuaku. I mean, if we'd have brought on Masuaku in that moment, I mean, with Cresswell and Soufal, we have 2 wonderful fullbacks, but they don't have trickery. They're not guys known for their technique. Look at, for example, Soufal. You can see it all the time, and nobody criticizes Soufal because of his work rate. But if we were looking at it from an objective point of view, he is not a skillful fullback. He's not a fullback that goes past people with a step over, with a shift of his body weight. He powers past them, or he's wonderful to play a 1-2 and get behind the opposing fullback. I mean, he's got that skill. But he doesn't. I mean, look at when he was up against Rico Henry. I think he won like 3 corners in about 5 minutes because all he could do was push to the byline and smash it off him. I mean, and that's not a criticism of Soufal. It's just his technical limitations that he does have. And the same with Cresswell. Cresswell's a little bit more tricky, but doesn't have that athletic ability as much these days. So, I mean, realistically, if Masuaku would have come on, and I was saying that during the game with a couple of mates, I was saying I would have brought Masuaku on to draw out some fouls, because I'm really sure with the way that Pontus Jansson, their centre-back, who is a real shithouse, and Jorgensen, which were the central and the right-sided centre-backs that they had, and stick Masuaku on the left, I'm sure he would have drawn out some fouls from him, because, the one thing you'll say about Masuaku is his footwork is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Right, Matt, what I want to ask you was, what were your feelings before the game yesterday? Did you think we were going to get anything? How do you feel now? Are you concerned that it's more or less the same 11 as last season, apart from Zuma? And it's always good to freshen up and get something that's better than, which is why we're worried about Vlasic. So, yeah, along those 2-3 questions, Matt. Yeah.
Not worried at all, mate, because I think we're overachieving. We've been overachieving now for just over a year, and it's no disrespect to us as a team, but we're doing much better, and I think that we're doing better than we should be. Like you said, considering the small squad, considering the players that we have, we're doing wonderfully. But like you said, I do think that considering these extra European games, the fact that maybe we're not going to get dumped out of the cups, the local cups early, I think we need to look after the squad a lot better. Because especially, I mean, I respect Brentford. I've watched them. I've seen how they play. But to be honest, home at Brentford is a game that we should expect 3 points. I'm sorry. We can talk about it now and say, oh, we're happy with the draw. But realistically, it is a game that we should be taking 3 points against them, because it's a team that, even though they're good, even though, they've got these wonderful transitions, they defend very much like Leeds, which is everyone back. You just see them fly back, and there are ways to get in behind them. And I just think that we just didn't do it well enough. And like Rob said from the beginning, I think that we were just shell-shocked, like, Christ, we didn't expect this. And the same way against Leeds, because look at the first half against Leeds. We were completely taken to pieces there, and we just weren't sure. And then in the second half, we came through. But we're not always going to be able to do that. And like we know, we've got a good attacking system, but we're not clinical. Who in our team is clinical with goals? Like Luke is saying here. No one's clinical. Antonio's not clinical, never has been, although he's doing really well. Fornals, Bowen. I mean, the only person that we had that was probably the most clinical was Lingard, and we've lost him. So I mean, there are going to be games where we just don't get those goals, and because we don't get those goals, we don't get the results. But I do think that we need to sort ourselves out, because Everton are not an easy team to go against. We've got Genk coming up that we need to play a weakened team. I'd be happy with a point, to be honest. Maybe 3 points, if we put out a fairly strong team. And then we've got the Spuds. I mean, we've got to win that. That is a massive game, especially with how inconsistent they are right now. And they look like maybe they're getting a little bit of turn of form. Maybe the Arsenal game smacked them around a bit, and they seem to be doing a little bit better. But these are crucial games. I think if we don't pick up 4 points from Everton and Spuds, I think our league campaign is going to start to stutter a little bit.
Yeah, Rob, any concerns, or how do you feel today, for example, and how do you think up and coming games? How do you think we'll do? You think, and things to improve on? Yeah,
I'm not worried in terms of relegation or anything like that. Let's face it, this is the best organised West Ham team I think I have possibly ever seen.
Yeah.
We've got a history littered with teams that play great football, but they're not. You can never ever say that they were the best organised in the world.
No.
This team, everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, and it's just one of those things yesterday where I think we got off on the wrong foot. We perhaps underestimated the opposition a little bit, and found that we couldn't adapt our game to overcome the difficulties. I think we've got, obviously, we've got to stay injury free or keep the injuries down as much as possible, and we've got to invest in January.
Yeah.
But I don't, a top half finish and would still be, for me, a good result this season, because I think, as Matt said, we did overachieve last season. There's a lot of other teams around us that are looking strong at the moment. They're going to stutter. They're going to have their moments, and we're going to be there or thereabouts by the end of the season, I think.
Yeah, it just would have made a difference if Vlasic, for that money, would have been threatening to break into the team, and that would have given it that push that you need, I think. So don't know what the chairman will be thinking, saying I gave him the money and Are we going to wait for him till next season to be good? I don't know how many funds we'll have in January. Whether Lingard
very little, I think.
So, man of the match, Matt. What do you think? Or is it Declan Rice again? You think, or not sure? Or
yeah, I mean,
no one really stood out, did they?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, especially after I was reflecting on the double man of the match for Liverpool, Manchester City. I mean, Gary Neville was being ridiculous, giving a double man of the match there. And I was reflecting on that, thinking, Christ, who would have been our man of the match? But I mean, Rice for what he did, you know, like Rob was saying at the end of the game where he ran one off the field, he was looking very, very frustrated with himself. But yeah, I mean, in the defence, I don't think anyone shone out at all. No one shone in the defence. Antonio definitely not. The front three attacking midfielders, no one there either. I mean, before the goal, like we were saying, Bowen was not having a brilliant game either. You know, and I was really happy for him to get that goal because I think he needs it. But if you're going to give our man of the match, I think it will be Rice. But I mean, overall, I mean, you couldn't. Ivan Toney was the one that really just dominated the game and made it a nightmare for us all the time.
He was a menace.
Stood out, didn't he? Rob, man of the match for you?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I would probably give it to Bowen just on the basis of the goal, but I think Rice was off it, and none of them really stood up to the. You know, none, after that first 15 minutes, you were just waiting for someone to take the game by the scruff of the neck and say, "Come on, this is what we need to do." You can't put it all down to the manager. You know, the players on the pitch are intelligent guys. They need to make their own adaptations from time to time, and no one looked as though they were sort of aware of what was going on. So, and Rice for me had his worst game of the season. So even saying that, he was probably better than most of them. But so I'd probably give it to Bowen just for the goal.
Good. Well, we've come up to the hour, so I want to thank you for your valuable time.
No.
And welcome. Hopefully get you guys on regularly, and hopefully we'll be in more better mood. Hopefully it'll be a win that we can review. And I know it's a Monday morning. I hate Mondays anyway, and but Tuesday a lot better. And I think we'll feel better after the international break and reflect. Like you said, we have got something good happening at the club. And perhaps we get a bit greedy the way we've been playing last 18, 24 months. You're looking to win every single game. And I was even thinking that point at Palace, Southampton began to look better and better when you saw what they were doing. Brentford, I know what you meant, Matt. We should beat them at home, but I think they're going to be tricky customers for a lot of teams this season. And that's why I was a draw. I was like over the moon thinking, we didn't turn up, but we didn't play well and got a point luck at Palace and Southampton, which is a good sign of a good team. But it is what it is. I think we're 9th or 10th in the league. We're dropping a little bit lower in the form tables. We've got Tottenham and Villa around us again. People like Son, who I've got a lot of time for. He's going to be, you're going to have to keep an eye on that guy when he comes to our place, really. So thank you for your time. Thank you for the viewers.
Yeah.
And come on, you Irons, and hopefully better smiles for us, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. We're fucked.